All right. We are live here at the Attention Era Media Studios overlooking beautiful downtown Milwaukee. You're watching hour 20 of our 24-hour live broadcast of Google Hangouts covering a wide range of topics of community managers really around the world celebrating CMAD. Speaking of CMAD, it's the sixth year that we're celebrating this as a tribe, as a community of community managers. And then this is the third year we've been doing this. I'd like to give a quick, do we have one last award to give away, right? So,
uno más.
So we'd love to give one last shout out to our award sponsors, BTC Revolutions, Flockler, Higher Logic, My Community Manager, Online Community Results, and socialmedia.org and Sprout Social. So we're the gang from My Community Manager. I'm Brew, co-producer at My CMGR, also director of Awesome at Be the Change Revolutions.
Hey everyone, I'm Sherry Rohde, and I lead community and user experience at Rebellion Media, as well as co-produce CMGR Hangout here at the Brew.
Hey guys, Dom Garrett. I am a social media freelancer, as well as enjoying spending almost every single Friday for the last 8 months hanging out with these two, helping out with My Community Manager.
So before we turn things over to Jen to talk about change management, Dom, why don't you talk to us about this last award we have to give away?
Very last one. Just wanted to, again, say thank you to our award sponsors. You guys are absolutely fantastic. We wouldn't be able to really pull this off without you.
And the committee, right?
And the committee, yeah. A big thanks to the committee. You guys were absolutely fantastic. I had a lot of fun working with you and taking all of that time to go through every single nomination, to read what everybody said about every single person, to be able to come to these answers. The last award that we have is the CMGR Choice Award. So this is the Lifetime Achievement Award, the one that goes to the person nominated the most by fellow community managers. So this is somebody that has been doing it for a while. Really, I think every single person in this category was also nominated in other categories because they do their jobs so damn well. And I am really excited to say it was very, very close. But our winner, if we want to get a drum roll,
Sure.
a drum roll for the last one. Here it is. Rebecca Newton. So congratulations, Rebecca. I know she was on a panel with us early at the very, very beginning, which seems like forever ago.
Yeah,
20 hours
20
or
hours,
so.
20
20 hours or so. You can find her at Rebecca Newton, so make sure you tweet her, say congratulations, Rebecca. You're going to get some sweet swag, an awesome plaque, lifetime achievement that I'm sure you're going to keep on doing great things for a lot more to come.
So all right, congratulations. So, all right, this panel, panel number 20 here, change management, migrations, redesigns, and upgrades. Oh my! And take it away, Jen.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much, and congratulations, Rebecca. Yay! We're real excited to have this panel right now talk about change management. I went through a lot of change as a community manager in the last couple of years, a lot of different upgrades and redesigns, and I know that I had some struggles and challenges, and so I was like, hey, I want a panel so that I can get some people to tell me what their experiences were like. Are they similar? Are they different? And more importantly, do people have better solutions than I did? So I'm really lucky to have a great panel of people who've decided to join. And I am going to start from I think it's our left, from my left, Allison Carney, who is a community manager for the Council on Foundations. Say hey, Allison.
Hi, everyone. So, yeah, I work for the Council on Foundations. My name is Allison Carney. I'm a trained lighting designer from theaters and then made the transition to communications, which has ended me up here, which has been great. And I am in charge of the Philanthropy Exchange, which is an online member platform for our member foundations. So we run the gamut from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation all the way down to a really small family foundation with no staff and just a board. So we have a really diverse membership, and sorry, I'm getting over a cold like everyone else in the world, so I'm going to be coughing a lot. So we have about, it's very new. We're still in beta, actually. We're officially launching at our annual conference in April in San Francisco. But it's been really interesting to work with philanthropy and an online platform. They're not a very tech-savvy group, so I've gone through a lot of change management in the 9 months that I've been working there, and I'm really excited to talk more about it today.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being with us, Allison. Can't wait to hear about it. And next to Allison is Daniel Rossi. He's a digital strategist. He's living in Toronto right now. Hey.
Hey, glad to be here, and that's a bit of an introduction to what the community that I'm a manager of. I speak with a stutter, so you're going to hear me stutter throughout the day. But that's all good because I produce a podcast since 2007 called Stuttering is Cool, where I encourage listeners to not let their stuttering get in the way of whatever it is that they want to do in their lives. I'm also co-founder of Stutter Social, which is an organization where we host group video chats for people that stutter around the world using Google Plus Hangouts. We have about 4 Hangouts a week for 5 in different time zones. And that's been going strong since 2011. And my day job, digital strategy, the whole gamut, managing the websites to all the other fun stuff. My passion is in content, engaging an audience through that content, finding out the tidbits of information, also known as social listening and analytics, to get even more content. So the perspective that I will bring tonight, I think, will be mostly on the corporate side. I have a lot of experience in working in the corporate communications environment where powers that be might be a little worried about getting into social media. So once change happens, there's a lot of people to answer to aside from the rest of the organization.
Awesome. And I love your little poster behind you. Is that a painting?
Yes.
Awesome. Next to you is Lori Travis, who's the community manager at Tyler Technologies. Hey, Lori. Oh, I think you're muted.
Of course I am. Thanks for having me here. I'm the community manager at Tyler Technologies, and Tyler builds software for counties, municipal governments, cities, and schools. So if you get a ticket, you might be using our software when you pay your ticket, or if you have a disruptive student you need to enter into your attendance records, that would be our software too. So we have 25 product lines. We serve people all over the United States. Our community came in, we started our pilot about 4 years ago, and it came in the perfect time because government was starting to change to an open government. So we were the first vendor of software like ours to offer a community for support, and it's 24 hours, 7 days a week. They can come on and ask questions or search for files and answers, and it's a big community to manage, but I have a good support system, so hopefully I have something to share today.
I'm sure you will. I'm so excited to have you aboard. Thanks, Lori. And skipping over the team out there in Milwaukee, we're going to talk to Patrick Cleary, who's the Knowledge Manager and Social Community Manager at Epsilon. Hey, Patrick.
Hello. Like Jen said, I am a Knowledge Manager and a Social Community Manager at Epsilon. It is we are a global marketing company, as well as we work in the data storage space. And we also build email marketing platforms, loyalty platforms, etc. I came into community management completely by accident. I was hired to start a knowledge base and a learning center for one of our products, and we decided to make that into a social community that contains those features. So about 3 years ago, we started our external social community, which is called Ignite, for our customers, and That went over so well that we launched just last year an internal social community called The Hive. So I am lucky enough, I guess, to be the community manager for both at this time. Speaking of change management, Epsilon is dealing with people's data, dealing with their private information. They haven't really embraced the idea of social internally and externally as much as some companies have. So coming at it from that perspective has been a very interesting challenge for me.
Awesome. Well, I know that you're going to have a lot to share with us for the panel, so we're real excited to have you, Patrick. And next to you is Scott Moore, who's the co-founder at Communal, and he has a ton of experience to share with us. Hey, Scott.
Hi. So I've been professionally building online communities for just about 20 years, large and small, for-profits, nonprofits. And in that time, I've seen a lot of changes, new platforms, new designs, changing the name of the community, changes in staff policy. I've actually even had to shut a community down and help find new hosts and get them up to get the new hosts to accept the new community and get that merged together. So yeah, seen a lot of change. So currently, and I'm currently consulting with Justin Esif through the Communal group, and we do have a couple of clients that are currently going through change, and we're helping them with that.
Awesome. So I am Jen Emerson. I've been in social media and community management for a little over 5 years. I've actually spent a lot of time copywriting. I started out in the agency world and did a lot of digital work, which somehow organically led into social media and community management, and I found I really enjoyed it and have stuck with it. I wanted to do this change management panel, like I said, because I had been managing a community where there was various changes, and some of them weren't so great, and some of them were. And I wanted to share this little screen share, if I can, real quick. Let's see if I can bring it up. Is it working? Is anybody seeing it? Failure from the top. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Start screen share. So I don't know if you guys can see this little graphic. It shows all these people who are like, oh yeah, we're so excited about change. And who's ready to do it? Nobody. And I feel like that's how sometimes change happens. It's like, oh, you know, you get this maybe a directive from higher ups, and you're like, okay, well, okay, what's the goal? Does this match our community goal? And we need to build out a strategy. And then it becomes like, oh well, let's not do that. Let's try something else. So with that, I was actually noticing that this ties into I want to show you guys this other graphic. You guys are like, Jen, you're freaking out, but I kind of am. Sorry. Let me show you this other little cartoon that I liked. I thought was funny. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but I looked up the stages of grief for children, and that's what I found. And so I feel like if this isn't the community, it's definitely the community manager when you're going through certain changes. Oh, you're in denial. We don't need this change. Oh, I guess we do. And then moving on. I tried to figure out how to do this with emojis, and then that was the best I could come up with. It's just lots of energy and death and love and guns. So I'm not sure.
That's a lot of stages.
That's really helpful. Anyway, back to our actual panel questions and topics. The first question that I did want to throw out to everybody out here, and just jump in, guys. So our first question is, how do you explain the benefits of change to members? I think that also you could ask the question, how do you introduce that change? What does it look like? What's the genesis of change management look like in a community, or in a social network?
Well, I can speak to. I'll take like the beginning portion of that. So When I first started, I had to transfer about 3,000 people from a listserv to an online platform. And they loved their listserv. I mean, like, these people loved Lyris, and what a weird thing to love, but cool. I mean, that's fine. And I was new to the field, I was new to everything, and I was coming in as this interloper, really taking away the thing they really loved. And I found that, and this is just my experience, but I found that highlighting the drawbacks of their platform didn't work. I would say, like, there's no archive, there's no way to see who else is on the list, there's this, like, nonsensical listserv stuff that you get. You all know what I'm talking about, the, like, 8 pages of letters and numbers that you get. And that didn't work. And I noticed that, and so what I did is, for all of my beginning messages, I started off with the benefits of what they were currently using, which sounds weird, but I would say, like, you loved this platform because you could connect easily to your people, you could ask exactly what you wanted, and you got the answers you needed. And that resonated with them, because I followed up with, this platform that I'm giving you is exactly that and more. So by acknowledging what they received and meeting them where they were in a positive place, that it translated very well to when I was saying, you know, try this out. Just do it for me. Do it as a favor to me. Try out this new platform. See how it is. But recognizing value was really important for the beginning of the change management. So that was just the very beginning of them using the platform. So now I'll pass it on to someone who has insight about maybe a little bit later on in the process.
That actually was a process that we used at a previous job that I had, where we were migrating a website, the corporate website, from an old one that was used maybe 8 to 10 years to a whole brand new one, very, very expensive one too. So and now I had entered into the project maybe a year into the whole shebang, when the communications were already sent out. But I remember looking through the communication archive, and that's exactly the type of for lack of a better term, formula, the process that they use. They first focus on what's currently in use, what the new one will have, and then in addition, and then even how to, then even the benefits, the additional benefits to the new one, the new tool, or the new community could have.
If I can jump in, the thing I would add to that is what I find very useful is calling out the community purpose and keeping a focus on that. Putting the change in terms of, look, there's a reason we're here, and there's a reason why you're all getting together. We want to continue that. We want to make that a better experience, or we need, if it's a policy change or whatever it is, we're doing this, but we're not losing the purpose. And if you get folks to focus on the purpose, I find that people tend to accept change a little bit better, because that's what they're most worried about, or that, you know, finding out what they're most worried about.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a full plan from the very beginning, I think. I think that a lot of times people take a very, especially organizations, take a very reactionary stance on change management. It's almost as if they won't put ahead the benefits, the value prop. They're not talking about what it is what success looks like. You definitely have to have a goal in mind before you start a large change, such as changing a community, changing standards, and then you also have to be able to measure in small increments as well, so that you can celebrate the wins, show the value right away. If you're not constantly and continuously showing the value of what you're doing, then you're just going to let the detractors get ahead of you.
Patrick, I think you had a good framework graphic that I was going to share with everyone.
Yep. Yeah, there's this, and it's not mine at all. It's all over it's all over the internet. It's just in 8 steps to change management, and basically it's good for just about any sort of project management, but change management certainly works. It starts off with creating a sense of urgency. You want to make sure that the change that you are proposing is necessary, and why it's necessary. You want to build your leadership team. This means not just you, and as community managers, I think that we take a lot of the brunt of anything that goes wrong with our communities, for sure. So build a really decent leadership team, and that includes, in a social community, I would imagine, as well, you want to include as many members of the community who have a good following. Making sure that you have your vision right. Again, for me, that is what does success look like? What will it look like at the end? Communicate for buy-in. That's just so that you know when people are on your side. You mobilize the organization, give them very specific steps to take in order to make this change happen. And that's not just the people who are happy about the change, but the people who are unhappy with the change, to be able to know what those steps are so that they know exactly how this change is happening. Like I said, you want to create your short-term wins so that you can celebrate when things go right. You can show the benefits of the change that you've made as quickly as possible and as often as possible. You're going to embed it into the culture. I think with social, it definitely works a lot more easily to embed into a culture rather than something like human resources. It can take a lot longer for it to absorb into an org. But if you're in social, you can say, this is the way we talk about it, this is the way we present it, this is the structure that we use. And then you just make the change stick. It's really, really easy to backslide when it comes to changing. Especially when you have very vocal detractors. If you allow them to get too much of a foothold without staying consistent on the message about why this change is going to be a good thing for the community, and then rewarding, gamifying, do whatever you can do to make that change stick, so that whenever the members of the community are doing what you want them to do and following the rules you want them to follow, they get a sense of reward and a sense of accomplishment for that.
I think Patrick is exactly right on everything he said, and one thing that I kind of was thinking about through all of that was our clients had a listserv, and that's it, and they were blocked from any kind of internet at their work and at the schools, and so we were a big deal because they had to actually loosen up the firewalls so that we could have community. And so a big thing I heard when we first rolled out was it's just Tyler's Facebook, and so we took that, and every time we could possibly preach it, with our internal champions and at our conferences, it's 100% for business. Get you answers and get you back to work fast, because that's exactly what they cared about. So I think that really helped them take that step. And we didn't say anything about social. We just showed them how it helped them. And by the results they got, even from just running a simple search, because we didn't have that before, that searched everything, they accepted the change. There's only one little group I can think of that didn't want to make the change. It was a little group of 50 counties in the Midwest, and they did not like the whole social thing. So what we did was create their group and put all their updates on it. So they had to actually come to our community to get their software updates. And by the time they'd done it, 2 times in a row, they were already professionals at community. So we got past that by just, kind of forcing them onto our community. But that's kind of how we did it too.
And that's another thing that I was, I joked to friends of mine who are also community managers the other day that there's a couple of different ways you can approach it. And if you think about it as either the hustle or le freak, if you guys are all old enough to remember the 70s, with when you're talking about the hustle, you just tell them what to do, and then there's nothing else explaining it. So it's just, we go this way, this is how you do it, and you're done. If we're talking about the freak, say chic, but it is also, they're telling you the benefits of it, who else is doing it, why you're doing it. So you can do it in either way. And what Lori said about, well, this is just the way you're going to do it, sometimes works as well. If you drop a change in the middle of your community or in the middle of whatever team you're working on and say this is the new way to do it, that can also be a really easy way to do it. Just wiping the slate clean and saying this is the new methods that we're using, and then just letting the chips fall where they may.
That's great. So far I have my notes. I have stick to the purpose, don't let detractors get too much of a foothold, and le freak. So this is already helping me a lot. Yeah, I know that I've been in a situation where I think detractors have gotten too much of a foothold, and that's something where I have that question where it's like, how can you manage it if you have gotten overwhelmed with a negative response, if they have, if you feel like what do they call it, the inmates have taken over the asylum, not the community members are inmates, but that you feel like you've sort of lost that control that you were hoping that you were going to use for this change.
So I'll be happy to respond to that. Yeah, I think the first thing to do is, if you're feeling overwhelmed with negative responses to a change that's being announced, I think the first thing is to acknowledge the negative sentiment, or at least the negative feelings. A complaint is a gift. Just they may be venting, but there may be something else underneath it. They may say, I hate this change, and I'm worried about something over here. So then what you do is you start focusing on the parts that they're worried about. One thing I'd recommend doing is you start asking more details about why they're upset. So we get past the upset and you get into the details of why they're upset, and immediately you start organizing all of the feedback that you're getting. I actually have four. This is kind of a breakdown. This works this way. There's kind of four ways you can start organizing it. There's the easy to answer questions. They're just confused about the change, or they're just confused about something that's different, and you can help them with a fact, or you can explain it to them, a how-to, or whatever it is. There might be ways of softening the blow of the change. So, for example, if you're going from freemium to paid, you might be able to offer them extra benefits, or you maybe we're going to a platform that's taking away old data that's not going to transfer over. So maybe there's something you can do about archiving the data so that they can get a chance to get it. Then there's the third category, which is just lumping it. There's some things that you're just not going to be able to change. You have to make decisions. If there's a big layoff, you can't change the layoff. You're going to have to lump this. Or if there's certain decisions about the change that you're announcing, we just have to do this particular thing. You're going to lose certain parts of it. But being nice about that. And then the fourth category is actually this is an entire process of listening and gathering feedback. And you might come across things where you actually have to reevaluate what your plans are for change. And you might say, ooh, we didn't know that people were using the community in this way, or ooh, we didn't know that this was important. And that breaks down into, you might go back and say, oh, are there tweaks that we can do to what we're planning? So it's not a massive, and again, in all of these that we're talking about, we're not really saying going back on the change. The change is happening. But are there minor tweaks that we can make to it? Maybe before the change or maybe after the change. Maybe there's something that we can plan longer term that says that there's a change, but we want to make sure that we're still doing some kind of development or some kind of work with the community. And then that reevaluation, again, you might wind up with, hey, lump it. And so I think that helps you go from being a mass of crazy negativity into, we're going to break this down into pieces so you're not overwhelmed, and then you're getting the community focusing on solutions.
If I could.
I think that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Sorry,
Go
I
right
thought
ahead.
somebody was
Well,
about to jump in. Go ahead.
yeah, go right ahead, Allison.
Sure, thanks.
It's a fight.
I know. I'm gonna duke it out. I think that what Scott said about a complaint is a gift is so right on. Like, it hurts. It's so right. Because I know every single time someone comes in, I log it. I say, like, I have this horrifying Excel spreadsheet that says exactly what it is, how they got to it, and I use that as ammunition to get my software people to change it. Like, because if you don't collect that data, if you don't keep that in your back pocket, like, they'll ask you to recreate the problem, and you might not know how to. So, keeping every complaint, like, you're all on the same side. There is no, like, you're not fighting. You're going towards the same thing. And if you just confront people with an open mind, and you one insider tip, call them. If they're like really upset, you just call them. And, like, I've had people send me all caps emails in anger. The second I pick up the phone and talk to them, this could be my field, but they're like, "Oh my God, thank you so much for taking the time to call me." I'm like, yeah, of course, you sent me an email in all caps. Like, I was concerned. So I think the more that you show up as a person who wants the same things they do, you want the exact same thing, and you know that downloading attachments is a pain in the ass no matter what you're doing. And you're there for the same reason. So every complaint gets you on the road to the better product, which is what you want in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that a negative response is better than no response to a negative thing. Like, if there's something in your site that doesn't work, the last thing you want them to do is just log off and never come back. You want them to send you an angry email. So, like, you actually do in a weird, sadistic way.
No,
So
it's absolutely true.
Yeah, so that's what I would end with. You want them to reach out to you when they're mad.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me a lot of my troubleshooting days when at my previous contract, we had also implemented a new content management system, a new CMS, and the user base were actually a non-technical user base, and they actually felt that they were not intelligent when they couldn't figure out how to post something, or when the system was not actually working properly. So like what you did, I actually went over to their desk to sit with them, to show them, and to also explain to them, no, it's not you, it's the tool. Because in this case, it is treading maybe some dangerous waters, saying the tool that we did roll out did not meet the expectations. But I did always reiterate that we will take this to the vendor and fix it. We want to hear from you. How do you use the system? I want to sit with you and watch you as you attempt to do this, because at least that way I'm stepping outside of my tunnel vision of the tech, the digital guy, and then see how is it that someone else who doesn't understand tech, who lives in a world of, say, just Word documents and Excel sheets, how they would think or interpret, and then we actually improve the tool that way.
Yeah, I always say that the best friends that you can have in any sort of social community are the ones who are the most vocal about what they don't like. Because they're the ones, if you satisfy them, they are going to become your advocates. the opposite of advocates are not detractors. I think the opposite of your advocates are the people who are totally apathetic. If they don't care enough, if they're just going to wander away if the community doesn't do what they expect it to do, if they have no opinion, then they're not going to be really contributing too much to the community. It's the people who really care and care enough to yell at you that are the ones that you really want to embrace.
So let me ask you guys a questions about people who are mostly vocal. Have you ever felt that they were just complaining to complain? Have you ever felt bullied by people who were detracting from your changes? The giant silent no.
No, so I'll answer yes. I have had situations. It was early in my community career where I actually had I had several folks who were consistent and constant detractors to pretty much anything that we did. Yet they would continually use the community. This was a virtual world. We felt. I mean, there were times when you would think that I can do no right for these particular people. And largely what it was is you realize they're isolated. And you make up for it by just having your actions. You do everything you can that is appropriate and right. You may not satisfy that person, and you may never satisfy that person, but as long as you're behaving in a way that the rest of the community recognizes is helpful and good, then it stings a lot less. It's less of an issue. I think that in terms of change management, where you might have some folks who are rallying around, they're detracting what's going on, they're stuck, they're not going to move, and they're trying to gather steam around them. This is where what Patrick said before, and this is true, is planning ahead with your communications helps a lot with this, and in part of your communications, understanding internally, and this is important to communicate internally, is that you may have a small subset of people who just are not going to like whatever this change is. And that's less of a focus. You may actually lose some people if you have really big changes and really radical changes. But it's understanding and minimizing that as much as possible. And then not taking it personally, and I think that was a separate issue.
No, that makes sense to me. Yeah, I have. There have been a few times when I felt like there were people who kept complaining. Almost, it feels like just because that was who they were, and when you have, one of the challenges I find is when you have your leadership getting concerned that person just won't be quiet, and why can't you make them be quiet? When the fact is, you're still dealing with that person, like you said, in the right way. You're acknowledging them, you are talking to them, and you're trying to, make them feel like they are being listened to, even if you can't, really act on the complaints that they are expressing. So with that, one of our questions was, how do you deal with change or ideas that are coming from your leadership that you don't agree with? So, anybody have an experience with that? No one wants to admit it, I know.
No, I don't. I was going to say, we do.
Those people don't know what they're talking about. Let me tell you.
Ideas from leadership. Yeah, I have a lot of experience with that one, including one of the top senior executives. Very, very scary stuff. But fortunately, it was very easy to. The word in my head is solutionize. That's not a word to fix.
Solve.
Solutionize, brother. Where is my brain? So basically, what I did was I just explained what the best practices were. In this case, it was a user experience design issue. What the best practices were. This is why this will not work. I put the executive in the shoes of the user and saying, here's what would happen. You know, you can see that there will be confusion. And fortunately, I was able to come up with an even better alternative, and everything was saved. So, phew. Yeah.
So I would add to that. There's also the situation where you don't have the opportunity to head it off at the pass, or you just aren't in a powerful enough position in the organization to have a voice for change. And sometimes things change, and you, as the community person, can't do anything about it. And what I find is you may not like that particular change, but hopefully your organization is working internally for some kind of change management. And what I find is sometimes you can empathize with your community about the negative change or the sense of loss or that a promise has not been fulfilled, and say, look, I feel bad about this too, but here's how I'm coming to accept this. Here's what and turn it around very quickly into the positives of. So what Patrick said, you get ahead. So you might be part of the detractor and you might not like it, but you can quickly empathize and then turn it around into the positives, so that you're not the instigator of detraction, but at least you can say, look, I'm a human being. We share some feelings here. Now you have an opportunity to say, now let's get through this together. So you actually have an opportunity to bind your community even closer to you as the community manager and as the organization in trying to get through this particular change. You might actually be in a more powerful position to shepherd an entire community who might through the change if you yourself are reluctant about the change. I mean, you have to internally you have to get to the point where you're ready to do the change, but the empathy can get you pretty far.
I think that's definitely on point for me, at least, and I've often, not often, but I've used change that I didn't agree with as almost a step further from what you were saying, Scott, where I've almost aligned myself closer with the community than with leadership. Where when I've talked to people, and especially when you get the very, very angry people, you say, look, honestly, I 100% agree with you. I think that would have been the right choice. That's not the choice we have, and that sucks, and I'm really sorry about that. I wish I could have done better for you, but I couldn't, and I'm really sorry. And if you sort of, I've kind of used it as like a rallying point to say that, I feel you, I'm on your page, but this is the world. And that's actually helped because it's sided me closer with the community. And honestly, I consider them my ultimate bosses anyway. Don't tell that to my actual boss. But, that's how I see it. And that's helped me gain their trust, that I see them, I respect them that much.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I
And
think
if
that's great. You're the member advocate. You should always be there on their side, and they should know that.
Yeah, and you are the face of, it's funny because you play a dual role as a community manager. You are the face of the company, of the organization, of the community to all the members, but you are also the face of the corporation, the community, etc. You're the face of the community itself to management as well. So the dichotomy of the two things isn't really lost on a lot of people. I think that if you have built enough trust in the community, when decisions that you disagree with come down the pike, you can use that for the next iteration of changes as well. And trust that the members of the community trust you enough, that management trusts you enough to show the benefits and the minuses of what that change has wrought. And as always, if you keep good numbers on whatever's happening, if that change happens you lose a bit of membership, you lose a bit of interactivity, and you have the numbers to back it up, then and plus a plan for how to make that change, turn it into something a little bit better. I think that can work for you as well.
Hey guys, we're getting closer to the end of the hour, and I have a few more questions left. And one of the questions I do have for you is, when we're working on this change and we have all of these challenges that are coming at us, one thing, do you ever feel alone? I don't know how big your teams are. And if you do, or if you feel like you're overwhelmed, how do you solicit for help? Where do you go? Do you go to the leadership? Do you go to the community members? Do you say, hey, can we hire somebody? What do you do?
So I'll say this is one of the places where again, Patrick said it, having a plan, and others have said it, and having a plan before you start into some kind of change helps a huge amount. So prevention is part of the key. I would say one of the things is, I'll just do this really quickly, build in time and effort for handling reactions from the community if change is on its way. I'm doing this with a client right now. Every communication has a 1 week built in. You're going to sit down and babysit this communication discussion. We're going to take feedback. We're going to do that. It's built into their timeline. We're not going to be pushing, so we understand where that is. Other things that can help mitigate this. This is my #1 rule for any kind of change. Don't do it on a holiday or before a weekend, because you want as many people on staff to be able to back you up when something, and this is the actual change, but I'd say even on major announcements where you're expecting pushback, or where you may not even be expecting, you may think everyone loves it. Still, do it in the middle of the week. And then the other thing too is hopefully you have built a cadre of people who you trust in the community that you can lean on and pass communications to ahead of time, and you can lean on those particular folks. And then finally, ask your community for patience, ask your community for empathy for the situation you're going through. Even in the worst situations, if you can explain look, I'm just trying to handle this. Can you guys give me a break? Can you give me some space? It's going to take me time to get you the answers to your questions. These kinds of things to help push that back.
Something that I did for, I'm a department of 1. I'm on a bigger team, but I'm my own person, and that's it. And something that I did when I first started is I started an interdepartmental group that meets, and this is actually where I messed up, where I didn't set a standard meeting time, but I think I set it once every 2 weeks at first. And I sort of went around and talked to people in person to get them to buy into it. I had really good snacks at the meetings. Yeah. And I made them be my team. I explained to them, like, I didn't have a team. I didn't have people to talk to me. I didn't have people to work through problems with me and work through solutions. And so, once every 2 weeks for an hour, they were my team. And it helped because, it helped me have people to talk to who had some historical knowledge of what I'd gone through. So they could say, oh, well, 3 months ago when you were dealing with this, that I think that this is how you reacted for XYZ reason. And they could also connect it to whatever their part of the organization was doing. So they became internal advocates for me to spread it throughout the organization when we were launching the platform. So and many community managers are on their own team. They might be in communications or in membership or in sales or something, but they don't really fit anywhere. And so what I did is I made my own, because you have to have people who understand. So that's what I would say. If you're feeling lonely, it's because you are, and make your own team, make your own tribe, you make your own community. That's what you're there for. That's what you can do.
Make your own team, make your own tribe. I love that. I took some great notes while you're talking, Allison, and the note that's really sticking out to me is good snacks at meeting. So I think that I'm going to keep that in mind, definitely going forward.
It's vital.
We're actually near the end of the hour here. We got to do some technical switchovers. So before we close off, I'd like to know if everybody has like one quick line of advice for everybody out there on change management or just community management in general. Scott, got anything?
Of course I do. I'll make mine quick. Never announce dates. Period. There you go.
Patrick?
You know, going back to what you said about letting people on the community hurt your feelings, make sure you walk away once in a while. Have something else to do. It's very easy for a community manager to make the community the only thing they think about all the time, and you really have to find something else to do that's completely outside of, you know, it's good for work, but it's also, if your community is something that you're managing in your spare time, walk away from it once in a while, go outside, and realize that it's not the end of the world if something's not working out in your community.
Hear, hear. Lori, do you got anything?
Sure. I think a good thing to do is find your champions inside your company, power-ups, managers, preach your gospel to them, get them to buy it, and get them to preach it for you. That way, when you do have change coming up and you feel alone, you got your champions. They're going to be able to talk to your executives, get some people between you and those people that make those decisions that are sold on your community, and that'll help you have a support system.
We need a hero, yes.
Danielle?
I say put yourself in their shoes. So they could be the person that sent the positive feedback, the negative feedback, the end user that can't figure out how to use a new tool, you know, whichever is the vendor that's trying to, you know, sneak away from fixing your thing. Yeah, put yourself in their shoes, and period.
Awesome. Empathy all the way. Allison?
I think my final one would be, you cannot over-communicate. You may think you are, and you may be sick of your own message, but especially during change, it is physically impossible for you to over-communicate.
Perfect. 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 And with that, let's toss it back over to the guys at My Community Manager. Hey guys, I think we've said our piece on change management.
Yeah. Awesome. Let me just say this. First off, Jen, you did a fantastic job running the panel. I know that you had a lot of stuff that was going on, and you absolutely rocked it. So big round of applause to you, Jen.
Yay.
And to all of you guys, I think I almost broke my neck at the very end because I was nodding my head so hard to each one of your guys' last little lines. So it was absolutely fantastic. You know, change is inevitable, and you guys knocked this out of the frickin' park. So thank you for this.
Cool, awesome. And for everybody watching, hanging out with us for the rest of the day, head on over to cmad.co. Click on the broadcast schedule. You can look at our next event that's coming up in about 5 minutes and tune in a little early. It's determining the business value of community managers at startups. So we'll see you then, and happy Community Manager Appreciation Day. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a great one, everybody.